Stephen A. Smith was at the dinner. I liked his poise when he was telling people about what he saw. He was there with his daughter. They looked great, and I know that had to add to the anxiety you felt in those moments. Thank God everybody was okay, and you're here tonight.
Yeah.
Make your witness, sir.
Well, first of all, my daughter wasn't. She was in town, but she wasn't there at the event. Thank the good Lord.
Oh, I saw that picture.
She was not there with me.
I saw a picture of her.
But she wasn't there at the event.
Oh, good.
There were other folks there, but she wasn't there at the event. Thank the good Lord. I wouldn't, believe it or not, I didn't want her at that event because the way the rhetoric and just the hostility and the environment, the political environment. She's 17 years old. I didn't want her experiencing that up close and personal, to be quite honest with you. So I did not have her there, and thank the good Lord that I didn't. I was sitting at a table with the honchos for ABC and Walt Disney. To Trump's right, we were about 2 tables down, approximately 10 to 15 feet. When we were there, all of a sudden you heard a little bit of ruckus, a little bit of noise. You heard people turning their heads, and I heard 2 pops, pop, pop. And then I saw Secret Service agents running towards the vice president and the president, who were on opposite sides of the table that they were sitting at. And they were screaming for everybody to get down. And so ultimately we were looking, but in the same breath, you know, obviously we felt compelled to get down, because at that particular moment, what a lot of people don't realize that weren't there but were watching, we didn't know if the gunman had penetrated to security to the point where it got into the room with the reporters. And coming into the event, there were protesters outside protesting about the Epstein files, protesting about the war in Iran, protesting about a plethora of things, and they were screaming at media members entering, accusing media members of being complicit in terms of supporting the administration and some of the things that had been going on. So it didn't escape anybody's mind that at that particular moment in time, when we thought for a few moments that the gunman may had entered the room where the media was, that it could have been potentially a mass shooting. We had no idea. We saw them run up to the stage, grab the vice president, grab the president, and everybody. And I'm talking about executives from ABC, NBC, CBS, NewsNation, Fox, everybody. You saw everybody literally duck for cover. And we were instructed to do so by law enforcement. They told us, get down, and they were screaming at us, get down, stay down, get down, stay down.
But let me ask you something. Thank God it turned out the way it did. Are you surprised by the lack of any difference in the reaction to this one? No. Why?
Not at all. Number one, the climate that we're living in, obviously, is a lot of hostility. I'm 58 years of age. I was born in 1967, and I hear people older than me telling me this is worse than it was pre-civil rights. This is worse than it was when John F. Kennedy got assassinated in 1963. This is worse than the climate and the environment of the 60s in terms of the rhetoric that's going back and forth, the divisiveness, the manner in which people are willing to talk about one another, not just on television, but to their face, just the hostility that exists on both sides. I can tell you, surprisingly, none of that was apparent Saturday night prior to the event. I arrived, the event really wasn't scheduled to start until around 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I was there from 6 o'clock, and I can tell you there were people from various networks, both sides of the aisle, who weren't politicians or whatever. Some were politicians that were getting along just fine, and none of that hostility existed. There was a lot of decorum.
That's because it's manufactured for advantage. That's why.
Sure.
Because they weren't on camera playing the role that gets them paid.
There you go. Yeah, I believe that, but nevertheless, that's what happened. That's what the environment was. And so because of that, you know, when this ultimately happened and you saw the president talking about toning down the rhetoric, I'm sitting there saying it was the right thing to say, but when are you going to practice what you preach?
Right.
Because you certainly are an antagonist, and you know how to exacerbate situations better than most as the president of the United States. You instigate a lot. I'm not blaming him for somebody trying to perpetrate an act of violence against somebody. To me, they're adults. They got their own issues, and they're to be held accountable. But nevertheless, when we talk about calming the waters and dialing down the rhetoric, both sides give us that same song and dance. Neither side means it. And I think the most authentic person that came across over the last few days was minorities, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, because he said, don't look at us. Clean up your own house before you talk about us. I'm not saying it's to be applauded, but what I'm saying is that he was very honest in his assessment of where he stood on the issue, as opposed to a lot of people that were just singing the same old song and dance about dialing back the rhetoric.
You like where he stands? I mean, you and I talk all the time about how the Democrats seem, you know, just desperate to try to echo how Trump is. I mean, look at Gavin Newsom, how he's changed.
I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it at all. You and I have spoken about that. I don't like it
there's
at all.
so much high ground available. There's so much opportunity. Imagine if Hakeem, instead of saying what he said, had called up Mike Johnson and said, look, I don't know if this is going to go over well or not, but let's you and me walk out of a restaurant together and say, we just had a steak, and we're talking about 2 or 3 things we could do on health care. We can do better than this.
I don't disagree with you. What I'm trying to say to you, for the purposes of you and what you do for a living every day, as wonderful as you do it, and what I do and others, it starts with honesty, because you can't course correct if somebody's just willing to give us lip service and say the right things because the cameras are rolling, because they're duplicitous and they're disingenuous in their approach towards things, and we can never get to the bottom of things, and we can never provoke change. I'm not saying to applaud Hakeem Jeffries for what he said. I'm saying somebody who's customarily classy, who tries to be above board, to sit up there and sound like that and to talk like that and to put us in a position where we can say to him, you can do better, you should do better, you definitely do know better, you usually do know better. I'm looking at him and I'm saying, if he's like that, it's emblematic of how bad things are, because everything, I've interviewed him on several occasions. I'm very fond of him. I know he tries his best to be the best that he can be as a politician on Capitol Hill, but to see the disgust and the fervor emanating from him, it's an indication of how bad things must be on Capitol Hill on both sides of the aisle when it comes to each other. And clearly it's being stirred up and fomented to some degree by the president, definitely his acolytes, his supporters, et cetera, et cetera. It's something that we all have to step in and do something about, but we'll never be able to do something about it if they're disingenuous and dishonest and we don't know where they're coming from because they're just giving us lip service. I appreciated the fact that even though I didn't think it was the wisest thing to do, I appreciated his candor.
Stephen A., I appreciate you. Thank God you're well. Thank God your daughter is well. Smart move that you didn't want her exposed to this.
No, did not.
And unfortunately, there will be another, and we will cover it together. You take care.
All right. You do the same, my brother.
All right, be well. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.